Hello everyone, welcome to the course on web development from Desi Q&A. So basically from this lecture we will be focusing more on adding functionality to our web pages using JavaScript. So JavaScript is basically a scripting language. So for what purpose we do use this JavaScript? So to know that we had this explanation in the first video of our HTML. That is, HTML gives like a skeleton structure for our web pages, and CSS gives the skin. That means CSS beautifies our web pages, and JavaScript is the brain to our web pages. What JavaScript basically does is it adds functionality to our web pages. So as we have observed that the web pages we have built using HTML and CSS till now does not have any functionality. Like suppose if you click on some button and you want something to happen when the click operation has been applied, so those things are not available in just HTML and CSS. So using the JavaScript we can add such functionalities and make our web pages more dynamic. Means we can navigate from one page to other page, and also we can render our web pages more fastly. So this is the overview of how we can use HTML, CSS and JavaScript to build our web pages. So what is JavaScript? So JavaScript and Java are not same. These are just have the similar namings, but they are not same. So JavaScript adds dynamic functionality to a web page. So we will understand how we are adding these functionalities one by one by implementing the code of the JavaScript. So basically, as we learned that HTML makes a site understandable, CSS makes it pretty, and JavaScript makes it dynamic. So, to understand about the history of our JavaScript, you don't need to know each and everything of this, but knowing the just overview of all these things is necessary. So in the 1995 the JavaScript was born. So then a scientist named Braden Ake was the founder of our JavaScript. So in the 1996 the JavaScript is handed to ECMA. ECMA basically stands for European Computer Manufacturing Association. So this is how the JavaScript was founded, and in the 2005, Eek and Mozilla joined ECMA. So this was to assist with E4X, leading to a collaboration with Macromedia, who were working to implement E4X in ActionScript 3. So in the 2008, involved parties come together in Oslo. So this is how the JavaScript was built, and in 2009 the common JS project is created. So this result in the agreement to drive the language towards using agenda known as harmony. So after all these things in the 2016, what happened was 92% of all the website use JavaScript. So this was how the JavaScript became famous, and most of the web pages still now uses the JavaScript. So this is the popularity of JavaScript. Like JavaScript is used by 63.61% of programmers. Apart from using JavaScript just for our web pages and all this development stuff, we can also use our JavaScript for solving the problems for our DSA. You can also use it there. So to understand why to use JavaScript, we should first know the key features of our JavaScript. So the key features are it can generate the HTML. So this is client side technology, it is greater control and user browser and OS, detecting user browser and OS. So using JavaScript, we can perform the simple calculation, and also we can handle the data and time. Basically, if you have some database, and you want to add some more data to the database. So for that purpose also there should be a interconnection between the database and the front end. So for that also we will use the JavaScript. And as we already know that JavaScript can also be used for validating the user's input. So suppose there is a form, as we have created a payment form. Suppose if there is a form and user in entered some data. Some data means, let's say he entered their name. So the name contains some other letters. Apart from the letters, let's say the name contains the numbers. So using numbers in the name is not a valid, right? So for that you can show some message to the user that this data you have entered is not in the right format. So user can understand that this data is not in the right format and he can make changes over there. So this is the main and major use of JavaScript. So JavaScript and Java are most different. So JavaScript is a server and client side language because um, JavaScript can be used for building our front end web pages, and it can also be used in backend using the Node.js, and there are several frameworks of JavaScript that we can use in both front end and back end to build our web pages. So, used for both UI and core business logic. So, Java is a server side language. So, Java basically has nothing to do with the client side. Using Java, you cannot make your web pages look good. Primarily used for core business logic. So, as we know, Java and JavaScript are very different languages. So, to understand how the compiler and interpreter in Java and JavaScript works is most important. So, in Java, you will give some source code. So, those source code is sent to the compiler. So, basically, what the compiler does is it transforms the user language that it has given to some machine understandable binary language, that is zeros and ones. So after the compiler gives some machine code, that will be, after all the calculations and everything, the output is given. What happens in JavaScript? So JavaScript, when you give the source code, interpreter takes it and it gives the output. So this is how Java and JavaScript works differently. So why is this JavaScript so popular? There are many other languages also. Like there are many different languages over there. Why is this JavaScript itself very famous? So to understand that, if you know some language, suppose you know some C language, and learning some other language is very easier for you. So not only for the C language, if you know one language, learning other language is very easy. So just like that, learning JavaScript is very easier because of its syntax and everything. So this JavaScript is standardized by ECMA International. So the JavaScript also has the biggest community on Stack Overflow. So to know this, if you have, suppose, let's say you got some error while running your JavaScript code. Let's say that error is, let's say const is not defined. Let's say you got the error named const is not defined. So for that, if you search like this, the first website you will get is Stack Overflow. You can go over here, you can see all these things and you can clear your bugs. So this was just an example I give, that is const is not defined. In this way, the there is a biggest community on Stack Overflow for our JavaScript. So JavaScript can be used in both front end and back end. So for the front end, we have several frameworks that we will be learning later. So can be used in both front end and back end. So in the front end, we can use some frameworks of JavaScript like React.js, AngularJS. These things can be used, and we can make our web pages look more pretty. And in the back end, you can use JavaScript like Node.js. JS stands for JavaScript. All these things to connect with the your database and to communicate with your server and to do all the server side programming. You can use it in the backend. So this is one more use of JavaScript, that if you learn just one single language, that is JavaScript, you can use it in both front end and back end. This will reduce learning one more language for the development. So JavaScript basically gives good performance, and JavaScript has a lot of frameworks. For every feature of a website, you have a framework. You can use a lot of frameworks to make your website look more good and to perform very smoothly. So, JavaScript can be used, the web pages that are built in JavaScript can be used in both mobiles and as well as computers. So, there is no restriction that the web pages that are built using that are built using JavaScript should be used only on the mobile phones or only on the computers. They can be used in both the computers, cell phones, laptops, or any sort of devices. So, this was just the overview of how JavaScript can be implemented along with the HTML and CSS to make our web pages dynamic. So, from the next videos, we will be learning about building our dynamic web pages using JavaScript.